as a subcommittee. We are going to hear Senate Bill 1514, sponsored by Senator Gregory at this time. Senator, thank you for being here. Begin when you are ready.
You know, always like to be on time or try to be. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Senator Curtis Gregory, 21st District, presenting Senate Bill 1514, as this is the Government Efficiency Committee. This is looking to eliminate some government and some statute that isn't utilized. In 1990, Missouri passed the Economic Diversification and Afforestation Act of 1990 to help jumpstart operations, but it's come to find out that that is now a program that has some overlapping duty because the federal government has started working on forestry acts, and this is no longer needed. Conservation has said we don't need to do this. There's nobody signed up for it anymore, and so that's why we're going to try and repeal it. I'd have to take any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions from the committee for the Senator? Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1514, please come forward now. Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 1514? Seeing none. Anyone here to testify for informational purposes only? And that's strike three.
Just a great bill. Please support it.
Thank you.
I could ask a bunch of questions if you want. Who won the game?
We did, as in the Trinity Tigers. The daughter actually hit a three-pointer off the glass with about 8 seconds left to tie it up, and then we got 2 in overtime and dribbled the clock out, so we got third place.
Killed a whole 45 seconds there, I think.
And I feel like, gentlemen, just a head nod would be sufficient. I think the actual chair of the committee has this rolled into one of her bills also. So this is, I guess, just getting us a nice committee hearing so we can say, yes, it's had a committee hearing.
Okay. All right. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, we will now hear Senate Bill 1470, sponsored by Senator Bernskoetter. Senator, thank you for being here. Happy Monday. Begin when you are ready.
Happy Monday to you, too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Like the chairman said, Mike Bernskoetter, Senate Bill 1470. It's just cleanup language for the Joint Committee on Legislative Research. I'd be happy to go through some of this stuff, but our reviser and those guys probably know more of the details than I do.
Any questions from the committee for the senator? Seeing none, is there anyone here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1470? Seeing none, right now we're going to establish a quorum before we continue. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Coleman, Hudson,
Here.
Bean,
Here.
Brown, Carter, Lewis, Williams.
With 4 members present, we have established a quorum. I don't think there was anyone here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1470. Is there anyone here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1470? Seeing none, is there anyone here to testify for informational purposes only? Welcome. Begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, Matt Morris, the Director of the Joint Committee on Legislative Research, the Missouri Revisor of Statutes. Just want to say thank you to the Senator for filing this bill, and thank you to you all for hearing it. The bill contains just mostly cleanup language for statutes that were changed in one place and not changed in another when changes were made in 2010 and again in 2015 or 16. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing no one else, Senator, do you have any closing
Nope.
remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. All right, that will conclude our hearing for Senate Bill 1470. We're going to stand at ease until our next bill sponsor arrives.
Slowly. I'm here to, Mike Moon with the Missouri 29th Senate District, here to present Senate Bill 1020. And at the core of this bill, it's about accountability and constitutional structure. You probably are all familiar with the 10th Amendment that reserves to the states the powers not delegated to the federal government. And whether you lean, well, I guess whether we're leaning conservative, I guess I don't have to speak to the other side at this point, or even if you are progressive, the principles remain the same. The states are non-administrative agents of Washington, D.C. We're sovereign partners, though, in a federal system. And over the last several decades, federal regulatory agencies have increasingly relied on states to enforce federal rules, often without direct legislative approval at the state level. In some cases, probably many, the enforcement mechanisms are adopted through state agencies' rulemaking rather than through an act of the General Assembly. And I recall about, I think it was 2014, when I first became aware of this situation. I looked into it to see what actually was done by the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, or JCAR as we refer to it. And I was a little bit surprised. Y'all probably remember Cindy Cadillac. She was the attorney who represented JCAR at the time. And so I sat down with Cindy and asked her to help me understand what JCAR was all about and what they did. And she said that they typically see about 1,800 rules a year. And that surprised me. I then took a calendar, took off all the holidays and weekends, divided that by the 1,800, and it came up to about 7+ rules a day. Now imagine, if you will, we're in the setting here, and you have 7+ rules every day that you meet, set aside the weekends and holidays, and you've got to determine whether they should be approved or not. Then I asked Cindy, when was the last time they met, JCAR? She said, been about 8 months. Multiply 8 months times probably 20 or so, 160 times the 7. That's a ton of regulations and rules, whether they're coming from the state agencies or the feds, that didn't get the time of day. And gentlemen, these rules affect you and me every day, whether you're a businessman or a farmer or just an average citizen. These are things that ought to be held in check by the state legislatures. Now, what Senate Bill 1030 does is requires that Missouri departments and agencies enforce federal regulations within our borders, but that enforcement must be approved by the General Assembly. It also requires that any new state rule or adopted or in conjunction with enforcing federal regulations after the 28th of August this year, when laws go into effect, receive legislative approval before being enforced. Also, it directs the Committee on Administrative Rules to review existing rules tied to federal enforcement and make recommendations to the General Assembly regarding whether those rules should be continued. And you may have heard the term anti-commandeering. It's a pretty simple concept. It dates back to the 1800s in the United States, and even up to probably 2 years ago was the last time that the U.S. Supreme Court heard a bill or a case that essentially would require states to enforce federal regulations. It's not an idea of nullifying federal regulations necessarily, but it's whether or not the feds can force the regulation to be enforced using state resources. That's at the crux of it. And so that's essentially what, and I should say the Supreme Court upheld the states' rights, saying you don't have to use your resources to enforce these federal regulations. It's up to the feds to do that themselves. That's really the crux of this bill, and if you have a question, I'd be happy to try to answer it. If not, I'll do my best to find the answer for you.
All right, thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1030? Seeing none. Anyone here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1030? Welcome. State your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Hi, Senator. Hey. Good afternoon. My name is Tyler Travers, registered lobbyist here today on behalf of the American Civil Liberties Union. Just wanted to go on record for opposition to this due to the Supremacy Clause issues.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Brown.
You said due to the Supremacy Clause?
Yes, sir.
So I believe this is just pertaining to rules and regulations.
So I would have to review it, but my understanding was that it, as discussed earlier, it would not allow local agencies to enforce the federal law, and that's where the concern draws from.
Well, I'm looking through the bill now. I'm not seeing the word law, just rules and regulations. I don't know, maybe the sponsor can chime in here and
That may be
offer
correct.
some clarification. Is it just rules and regulations?
You have the correct understanding.
Okay. So wouldn't that be more of a 10th Amendment issue than a Supremacy Clause issue?
I'm happy to talk to the lawyers at the ACLU.
Oh.
I'm not one of them,
Gotcha.
but I understand your concern there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Thank you for testimony. Anyone else to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1030, please come forward. Seeing none, is there anyone here to testify for informational purposes only? Welcome, sir. Begin when you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Nick Humphrey with Missouri National Guard. I have had a chance to visit with the sponsors staff a couple of times. Not really sure if the military was the actual intent of this bill, but without a military exemption, you'd be looking at examining rules and regulations about where name tags go and how hair should be cut and how often you should change oil in Humvee. So just thought I'd mention that here in committee. But, thank you.
And you say you have had that discussion with the bill sponsor?
With his staff.
Okay,
Yeah.
with staff, okay. Any questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, closing remarks?
Y'all made it too easy. Thank you again for your patience and waiting for me.
No problem. Thank you, Senator. We appreciate it. That will conclude our hearing for Senate Bill 1030. No other business coming before this committee. I will make a motion to adjourn. Have a second. We're adjourned.